Welcome to Blue Talks.
Well, we all have memories, some positive, some not so much, right? So here's my question for the audience. Who remembers their first beer? Raise your hand. Oh, that's a small number. How old were you when you had that first beer? 12. Anybody else brave enough? 12. Okay. 21. Yeah, so when I ask that question, I get all kinds of different answers. And I didn't know whether that question was appropriate on this stage or not. It's just a real privilege and a blessing to be here at Cambridge University in the UK. 8 centuries of history are at this place. So it's just amazing. So hopefully I wasn't offending anyone by asking you that question. My initial memory when it comes to drinking was at age 13. I was at a friend's house, we were playing pool, and to this day, I don't know how I discovered this cold beer in the parents' refrigerator. And then I further don't know how I chugged it down as fast as I did. And I don't recall whether I liked the taste or not, but it was that exhilaration that came from not being caught that really set me off into another 20 years of making some poor choices. And I now understand that that's the dopamine that was in the frontal cortex, and that really was that exhilaration of not being caught that set me off into 20 plus years. Another memory for me came about when I was in my second marriage, and my second wife and our son, we were at our place on the river in the Midwest, and it was a Sunday afternoon. And all of a sudden, my 5-year-old son started vomiting this green stuff. It was just hurling vomit, and he was doubled over in excruciating pain. And he was screaming out, "Dad, Dad, help me." And we rushed him as fast as we could to the emergency room, and the quick assessment said that he needed to have an emergency appendectomy. Well, what we didn't know at that time is as we were preparing him, because his electrolytes were out of balance, one of the emergency room physicians had worked 36 hours straight without sleep. And even though we couldn't ever prove it, there was a lot of evidence to say he was high in crack cocaine. There were 2 RNs in the room. His potassium was out of balance. And so the physician that had worked 36 hours straight without sleep had done the math on the bed sheet, and he said to the 2 nurses in the room, "Here, this is the dosage." And the nurse said, "No, that's not right." And he said, "Here, darn it, I'll do it myself." Well, he miscalculated. Instead of pushing 2 milliequivalents of potassium, he pushed 20. Many people don't know, but potassium is what veterinarians use to put animals down. The poor choices of that emergency room physician that afternoon cost me my 5-year-old son. He overdosed and killed my 5-year-old son that afternoon. My poor choices over 20 plus years of drinking cost me relationships, cost me hundreds of thousands, probably millions of dollars. But the poor choices of that emergency room physician that afternoon cost me my son, and I never want another parent to go through that sort of devastating loss. My career started in the banking industry. I actually started out with banking, had all my insurance licenses, I had my real estate license. I was doing extremely well, but I realized that I wasn't going to make a lot of money unless I went into financial services. So I transitioned into that, bought and sold a number of businesses, and then I was given an opportunity to be part of a startup in the energy conservation world. We grew that company very rapidly in the early 90s. And we went from 600,000 year 1 to year 5, we were at a $50 million run rate. We ended up selling out that company to a major utility based in Minneapolis at that time. And I was given an opportunity to be vice president of that utility, running what we turned into a $130 million business unit with 8 offices across the US. That was part of that $65 billion utility. And we had great success. I had the large house. I had an airplane in the hangar. I have a pilot's license, had a new Mercedes every 2 years, had a country club membership. I had everything that I really thought that the American dream said I should have. And then I was introduced to a book. The book is titled From Success to Significance by Lloyd Reeb. And in that book, Lloyd poses the question, 5 years after you die, what will you be remembered for? As I said, we had a lot of assets. I had achieved what some would say was the American dream, having this awesome position in a major utility in the United States. But yet this question, what will you be remembered for 5 years after you die, totally pierced my heart. And I made the decision to walk away from the corporate world at that point, and I really bought into the whole idea that it's not about the physical assets you have, what your bank account balance is, what your title is. It's how do we have an impact on other people's lives in addition to the significance that we can find in our own. One of the major obstacles that we have, not only in North America, but around the globe, is a major drinking problem right now. People are drinking too much booze, and in the United States, between the ages of 20 and 49, 1 in 5 deaths of that age group is attributed to overdrinking. In 2023, in the United States alone, there were more than 112,000 overdose deaths. 2/3 of those were attributed to fentanyl. And that surge in number of average daily deaths, which, by the way, if you do the math, says there's 306 deaths per day from overdoses. That's a 60% surge compared to pre-COVID rates. Another interesting statistic that I came up with as I was pulling together some notes to be on this stage is that British women, no offense now, British women are leading the world in binge drinking. Men, what the heck are you doing that these women are leading in binge drinking? That's research that was recently done by The Guardian. Another thing that I found in my research is that in England, the deaths from alcohol have grown by 89% over the previous 2 decades. So we have a severe drinking problem. Substance use disorder globally is attracting almost 40 million people. In the United States alone, there's 22 million that should be seeking help, but less than 10% are actually seeking help. Why? It's because of the stigma, ladies and gentlemen. It's not safe to go to your boss or company leaders. You could be in a nonprofit world. It could be in faith communities. It could be, no matter what. It may not even be safe in your families to say, I need help, right? Why is that? It's because of the stigma. So I'm on a mission, and I want to invite each and every person in this room and that's watching this to help, to come alongside me so we can crush the stigma and we can save lives and restore relationships. What's mind-boggling to me is as I'll come off of a stage at some of the events I'm doing or doing workshops, and the guys or gals will come up to me and they'll say, Randy, can you help me? And I'll say, well, sounds like you want help. Why haven't you done anything in the past? It's mind-boggling to me, no matter what their social status is, college degrees, economic status, it's always the same 4 words that person will say. I don't know how. I don't know how. And that's what's holding people back, is it's not safe to ask questions. So my team and I developed what we refer to as the Lifestyle Champion Cohort a couple of years ago. What this is this is there's tools in this 8-week study. It's not a study, it's a workshop, a 90-minute Zoom workshop on a weekly basis, where we have 3 phases. Number 1 is the evaluation. Who are you? Where are you today? What are the battles, the challenges that you're dealing with? Second is equip. Many people don't change because they lack the tools, they lack the knowledge, they lack any encouragement to really restore who they want to be, or that life that they want to have restored, which is freedom. It's claiming victory over whatever this compulsive destructive behavior is. Third phase is now that you've had this life change, how do you now have the opportunity to enjoy it? So if you're interested, depending upon how you're watching this or seeing this, there is a QR code that's on the screen that will take you to our website, that there's a 21-question assessment on that website that will help you or a loved one to determine whether you're dealing with a mild, moderate, or severe case of substance abuse. If you're mild or moderate, this program is a good fit. If you're severe, then we have connections literally around the globe where we can introduce you to people that can help you and guide you through this life-changing process. Recently, my memoir titled "God Took Me to Las Vegas to Get Sober," who does that, was released after 4 years of procrastination. It's really intended, along with my podcast that I started back in early 2020, to offer people words of encouragement, to offer tools, to equip anyone that's reading my book or that's listening to the podcast where we just recently recorded episode 220. It's really intended to be a tool that people can access, and it's all about crushing the stigma while equipping people. One of the real vivid memories for me came as I was headed back home to Las Vegas. You can see the smiling wife on the screen. And it's very interesting because I was at 22,000 feet on a connecting flight from Phoenix to Las Vegas. And I had 2 bottles of scotch on my tray table, and I had 3 bottles of scotch in my briefcase. I was shocked. And it was then and there that I knew that I had to change. It was in that very moment that I had to change. And so I walked off the airplane, told my wife. 10 days later, I walked into a treatment program. And I'm here to celebrate today that I recently was able to celebrate 33 years of sobriety. That doesn't just happen. You don't just snap your fingers and make that a reality. You need to be equipped. You need to have a guide. Another quick story that I want to share with you is our friend Hunter. Hunter was part of one of our recovery groups in a program. Hunter's a first lieutenant, active in the military, 25 years old. Early in March on a Friday night, he called one of his accountability guys because he and his 21-year-old wife were having a pretty heated argument. And so they talked, and Hunter was able to make some peace. The next Friday night, Hunter and his wife were having another heated discussion. And at that time, Hunter didn't choose to call, but they were having such a heated argument that his 21-year-old wife decided to take their 2-year-old son and their newborn baby girl, give them a bath, and put them to bed. When she put the kids to bed, she then came out and discovered that Hunter wasn't in the living room. And she then shockingly discovered that Hunter had taken his gun to the backyard, put it under his chin, and committed suicide. This 25-year-old young man who had accomplished a mechanical engineering degree, he had a lot of accolades for the great work he had done with NASA and other very high-level jobs, but it was the stigma that kept him from seeking the help that he really needed. So I want to just invite each and every one of you in this room to stand as I invite you to join the community, because now is the time to take action. Now is the time for the global community to come together. Now is the time for us to say enough is enough And here's what I want you to repeat after me. It's time to crush the stigma. Let's say that together. It's time to crush the stigma. One more time. Crush the stigma. Thank you. And if any of you that are watching this are battling with that compulsive destructive behavior, please don't wait another day to seek help. Thank you.